Hi everyone, I'm Vicky. I'm the creator of the channel, and I'm going to be giving free sessions about constraint creativity and how to use it to tackle creative anxiety. So, what is constraint creativity? Constraint creativity means that we create with a set of parameters a frame or a box, and we use it to funnel our ideas rather than to staring at the blank page and getting completely blocked out because we cannot think on how to put our ideas on the paper. And then throughout that work, we are going to tackle creative anxiety, which means the fear that creating art or creating something gives us. So we will make a little box, a little frame with the random parameters that I have here. And then we will have 10 minutes to create something. It can be a drawing, it can be a text, it can be whatever you like, but it needs to be inspired with these parameters that we are using, okay? So I have my timer over here. I'm just gonna set it up. And then on the first one, I will show you how we actually do. So the first one is gonna be more like an example kind of thing, so don't worry about it. And you will also hear hear me actually. No, you cannot hear me. Can I change? Need to change the microphone a second. It's fine. Guess. Let me just set up the timer. And we'll start. Okay. So you will hear the alarm of my timer once it goes up, but don't worry, we will do it together. Okay, so timer is on, and we're gonna get one little word over here, and we have software. There we go, software. And then we have preserving. Okay, so the way it works, we have a noun, and then we have a verb or an adjective, and this kind of creates a situation, okay? And we try to make a scenario with that to then create something. So you can start, for example, a way for me that it works really well is try to see what these words inspire you. It doesn't need to be literal. It can just be the first thing that comes up to you. So when I think of software, a laptop or a computer comes up to my mind. And then when I think of preserving, it's more like when you keep things in jars in a museum and stuff like that. So maybe, okay, so we can see, like we can make a computer or a laptop that is preserved in a museum jar, for example, like that. Like that. So it doesn't need to be a very elaborate design or concept. It can just be very simple. And once your thoughts caused by creative anxiety, which is that fear that when we are creating something, it's not going to be good enough, or we are not good enough to create something, or that no one is going to like it, what we're going to do is that we're going to remember that this session is a safe space for us to create. So it's not going to be like you're going to be showing this off to someone. This is your time, your hour to create for yourself, and just learn how to channel ideas into a page. So we don't have that creative block that artist or anyone that does any creative job kind of experiences at least once. So you can be completely literal about this, or you can be without any details, like I'm just making random keyboard. Doesn't even look like a keyboard, to be honest. And kind of like this, and maybe a few details just to make sure that the idea is eligible there. And then we're going to make this jar around it, and yeah, that. And I'm going to make it like if it's floating. So this. So you can see that I'm not making a lot of effort to have neat lines. I'm also not projecting a lot of details into it. And obviously you can have an eraser with you to kind of erase these mistakes like I did now. But don't worry, sorry. Don't worry in like the perspective of the drawing, and if the lines are too clean, or if it makes sense at all, because that's not the idea of the exercise. This session is just to push back those negative thoughts, that kind of self-conscious when we are creating something, to be able to finish what we started. Because sometimes creative anxiety not only prevents you from starting something, but from finishing what you already started. So you want to push those negative thoughts away and concentrate on what you're creating now so you finish it. And then maybe I just want to do some glass reflections over there. And if you want to, you can, for example, just give a bit of color. Normally, these kind of jars are orange, the liquid inside, well, not orange, but kind of yellowish. So maybe you can do something like this. And to make it feel like it's actually something that is preserved, I'm gonna add a little pedestal with a plaque. So you can start off with an idea and then kind of make it evolve as you go. So it's not like, oh, you think laptop in a jar and you stop there. If you, while in those 10 minutes you're thinking of this, but some extra elements come around, you can always include them if you, as long as you have time. Because we are using this time to kind of fuel a bit our brain and be like, come on, you have to speed up. And so we prevent ourselves from blocking the stream of thoughts, let's say. So let's say laptop 2021. And we have that little plaque there. And then I'm just gonna quickly give some color to this so I understand the next time that is a kind of a pedestal for the laptop. Sorry. Like that. Okay. If you see that you finish before time, like I did, or even before me, that's completely fine. You can, for example, think of something else that you can keep drawing. So you're not going to stop here just because you finish one idea. Try to see what others ideas can come into your mind and put them down, even though if it's just a quick sketch and in the middle of it, the timer runs out. So for example, software I'm preserving to me also inspires me like jam, and software maybe like an antivirus. From this thought I'm thinking of the boxes that they were where they sell the softwares with the CDs inside and all the instructions and things. So maybe we can do like a little setup plate with forks and spoons. This is gonna be super random. And then I'm gonna put a jam kind of thing there. And again, it doesn't need to be accurate in detail. So it needs to just reflect the idea of what you're creating. And it doesn't matter how kind of crazy you think it is. It's about putting those thoughts onto paper and finishing the idea that you have. So if I do, maybe this is a cereal box. So I'm gonna put like a ball here, there, and this has like little CDs inside. Then someone will eat for breakfast. And like that. And then we're just gonna place CD on one side. I'm just gonna drink something. And we say I don't know, breakfast. Oops. Virus. Antivirus, for example. Don't know. So you can see that none of the letters fit. I didn't measure out how big the letters should be, how straight the box is. This plate is very wonky. There's not actually like a proper setup. You can add a couple more details because we still have some time. But the point is that I'm not focusing on the fact that I did something wrong. Here it is. So time's up. And as I was saying, I didn't focus on the details that were wrong because that's not the point. What we need is to focus on finishing the idea. So I had this idea completely random that it wasn't literal, it doesn't have the literal words that we picked up, but these words inspire me to create something. So we're going to do the next again, put the words around, aside, prepare the timer there. Okay, and we're going to pick up one verb, which is singing. There we go. And another one, operation. Okay, so we have singing, an operation, and the timer is on. So we have 10 minutes. So, okay, another way of doing this exercise is you can try to pull up a memory that these words kind of make you think of. So singing for me is karaoke. And then operation, although it's a bad translation, there was this TV program that it was Triumph Operation, let's say, and it kind of reminds me of that. And it was a singing program. So, but it also reminds me, obviously, of a surgery. So maybe I can do a doctor singing on a kind of TV setup, something like that. So if you, for example, have a character involved, you can use this to develop your character into different scenarios, completely random, and it kind of shows you how you can actually make the character evolve depending on the situations. Yeah. So I have my Chibi monsters, which are these little cutie guys here. There we go. So I'm gonna use this one as my main character for these 10 minutes. So let's say I'm gonna first create. Okay, I'm gonna make the face first, and like this. Now, the good thing about this, for example, I'm not a drawer, I'm a sculptor, so this exercise is not really helping me to develop my drawing skills, but it's giving me a way to make sketches without having to use clay, which is sometimes faster and more useful, so I don't waste materials. So in this case, I'm gonna, for example, be drawing my G monster, this, and again, don't worry about proportions, don't worry about cleanliness, because we are focusing on getting things done. There we go. And I'm just adding little details that are not precisely clean or accurate, or as they should be, but they are helping me to visualize that idea. And then a microphone, obviously. That good. Like this. And then well, I'm not gonna think how it's holding it because it's already wrong. Let's say it's like that, and then it's gonna be super concentrated on what is singing. And you're gonna see that most probable I didn't do the proportions of the body correctly, but that's fine because it's not my aim. I'm not gonna progress. I mean, eventually, by repeating the actions, of course, you get better, but it's not the aim of the exercise. So don't worry. Again, if you think it's not good enough, it is good enough. It is very good that you're doing it, and don't stop. Keep going. Keep doing your sketch, your draft, whatever you're using to do this exercise. Just don't stop and keep going on. So we have singing and operation. My chief monster is ready to go. Super invested on the song. And then I'm just gonna make like some big lights over here, more or less. Don't actually remember how they look, so I'm just gonna make it up. Mostly like you see in other cartoons and stuff. Okay. And I already remember that let's do some lights. Kind of forgot the operation aspect of it, because I wanted to do like a surgeon, a doctor kind of singing. So I'm mixing both worlds into one with my own character. So we have, let's see, let's put the kind of code that they use, like that. They normally have their little badge here, or with a pocket with stuff, and the thing for the heart rate, I don't know how it's called. There we go. And maybe a little hat. So I'm gonna erase a little bit. Again, you can erase things, but don't erase them to make them perfect. Erase them because you actually need to add a detail so it's visible, or because you did a line too short or too long, but not to make the drawing or your sketch with better precision, just as a kind of tool to make you keep going on. And a little thing here. Looks more like a cap, but it's fine. We're gonna leave it like that. Okay? And so it actually looks better. I'm just gonna, for example, paint, but they normally have this little hat be like, or blue or green, something like that. So this is gonna be blue there. And then my chibi monsters normally have loads of dots, as you saw before. So maybe I can do it now. So it kind of gives me that feeling that it is my character, and I put my character into a random, completely weird situation, which is true. And so I'm going to use this one. And I'm just going to do some dots. And again, they're not perfect. It's just to give me an idea of what it is. Because creative anxiety is obviously, at the end of the day, still anxiety, and is still the fear of something. That fear is what creates our anxiety. So by doing something over and over again, even though it's outside of our comfort zone, let's say, as no one is going to see this, and you're doing this just to relax your mind, to get rid of that block, you don't need to actually focus on fear or on your fear for perfection. You just need to focus on getting the idea done. And then, because for example, in my case, I missed loads of details here because and proportions are also wrong, but you get the idea. I have a surgeon or a doctor or something that my cheer monster is playing by singing, and with the lights you can kind of figure out that it's on a stage or something like that. So it's not just alone or in a random situation. You actually have a proper scenario, and we funnel the idea through that scenario and we see what comes up. So we can also say, okay, if you don't want to start another one, maybe you can add to this one. So for example, rather than staying here, I'm just going to add a little random camera on one side, because maybe you don't want to start the process again with this one, or you don't feel like it's giving you more to play with to create something. So maybe you can focus on and concentrate on implementing more details into this idea, because again, you don't need to just stop here. You can add on more details, more characters if you want to, or even little props and stuff. If you have more colors like I do, maybe if your concept is a bit more abstract, you can give more colors and stuff. Time's up. There we go. So I didn't finish my camera, and that's how it's gonna end. Once the timer is up, even though you haven't finished, this is a bit to trigger that fear of this is not good enough or you're not being perfect. So we can fight against it. Okay. Remember, this is just a sketch. This is just a fun exercise to relax your brain and to keep coming with those ideas, but it's not to focus on, oh, this needs to be perfect. We finished the main idea. We were adding a detail, but we just couldn't finish it because the timer was up, and that's completely fine. It's still perfect what you did. It's still enough what you did. Okay? So we're going to take another two. This, and let's see what is next. So we have tradition. There we go. And we have saving. Okay. Timer is on. There we go. And let's see. So we did two ways of kind of getting inspired with these words. We did trying to get the first image that this word inspires us. And then the other way is this letting a thought or a memory or an experience that you already have and kind of remember everything out of these words. So now we're going to mix them both. Okay. So for example, saving to me inspires me saving money. So a piggy bank, for example, and tradition. It reminds me of when I go to the supermarket and I see things from Spain, and I kind of remember traditional things from Spain. So let's try to focus to mix those things up. And I'm gonna start on the other page. Let's put these things here. Tradition and savings. So I have a piggy bank, but then I have tradition. So tradition, a traditional thing is the ball image, the black ball image. So and savings as a piggy bank. So we're gonna kind of fuse those things together. So we're gonna make a funny ball bank. Sounds a bit weird, but let's go for it. We're gonna start. Don't remember how to do it, but they kind of look like a cow. So we're gonna do something like this. And this is really bad. So you can see I'm not the best drawer, but I'm trying to push those thoughts of, oh, I'm not really a drawer, I'm not really good enough. This is not gonna actually look like I want it to look. But I'm gonna finish the sketch. And maybe while I do this, another idea will pop up, and I can do that rather than just trying to improve this one. Sometimes you don't want to improve the first idea that comes up to your mind. Maybe you want to put it onto paper and then move on from it, and that's completely fine. So we're gonna make the tail, that, and it should be the body. Be like this, I guess. And honestly don't remember how to draw cows either, so this is gonna be interesting. This and the hooves, more or less the same. And then obviously it has the little bracket for the money over there. And okay, this is really bad. So the best thing that you can do if you're doing something like me, you can just laugh at it, and that's it. Again, focus on getting it done, not on what you have actually done. Okay? We're gonna fill this up there. And maybe to make it a bit clearer, we're gonna make a little coin. I don't know. Like this. Again, it doesn't need to be accurate. It's just a circle with the pound symbol in it, but it gives the right idea, right? That, and then obviously a hand, because the coin is not going by itself. And I'm gonna do my Chew Monsters hand. So it's my Chew Monster savings account. That, and so I know it is that one. I'm just gonna add again small little details that if I go back to this will remind me what actually I was thinking. Although I don't think I would go back to this idea, but that's completely fine too. So if you have an idea and you don't want to go back to it, that's fine too. Again, as we know, it's not going to necessarily be perfect or good. You don't need to worry about, oh, I'm just wasting materials or resources or even your time, because you are not. Because what you're doing is just getting into that flow of creating without worrying so much about how the outcome is going to be. You never know, sometimes maybe you did a sketch 10 years ago and now you came back to it and you thought, well, this is quite good. Maybe I can tweak it, or I can make it better, or I can focus on these other details. You never know what's actually gonna come out from a very bad sketch like this one, like mine, or from a very random idea that you had. So don't be scared of putting something onto the paper because you think it's going to be worth it. Do it the same, because you never know what actually is going to come out of it. Maybe I did this, maybe I will get another idea that is even better, but I wouldn't have thought of it if I didn't have this one first. Okay? So let's see. Tradition and saving. We still have some time, so I'm trying to come up with another idea. Tradition, to me, to be honest, although it's not my tradition, it does remind me a lot of Japanese culture. And savings reminds me of the little cat with the paw like this that is supposed to be a good luck charm for money and many other things. So maybe we can make a little cheer monster mix with the elements of the cat. So I'm gonna make small cheer monster here, and I'm gonna use the same cheer monster that I drew before. So I put that character into different scenarios, and I can also alter some aspects of it. So I'm gonna make like an actual little cat face. It doesn't make much sense, but let's see how this comes along. That, and again, not worrying too much about how good or clean the lines are. We're just gonna keep going and focus on the idea itself. And for example, I'm gonna draw first the feet because I know that they're normally like sitting on top on just two legs, and a little details there so I know what it actually is, but I'm not focusing on doing them perfect. And that's gonna be the white belly that I normally draw, and it should have like a coin here, so there, and one arm is gonna be holding the coin, obviously. So maybe I want to erase a bit what I did before, so I actually have a better visual of what I'm trying to get. And the other arm should be like this. So we're gonna do little paw with like this kind of bended thing, that, and this. And they also normally have like a bell. So it looks a bit like Doraemon, but it's fine. Like that. Okay, why not? And again, just so it reminds me that maybe it's these other chibi monsters, so I have a different chibi monster with another different scenario. I'm just gonna give it a couple of details. And the timer is up. Those were fast. Okay, so how is it going? Eh? You can see again, none of these were actually literal. So remember, you don't need to follow these words because they're just I mean, they mean something, and they can give you an actual non-abstract inspiration, let's say. But you also, if nothing comes up to your mind, don't panic. Just, you can also wait a little bit and see what comes up or what inspires you. Or on the next one, we're gonna see if I cannot come up with an idea soon. We're gonna step back a little bit and maybe start doodling whatever and create out from that doodle rather than using first the words and then sketch. We are gonna sketch first and then use the words to implement, to funnel those ideas. Okay? So we're gonna do company. Here we go. And dun, 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 dun. Amending. Okay, gonna set up the timer. There we go. Timer's up. So company and amending. Really cannot think how these two words can relate at all. So company right now is reminding me of where I was working before, which was a candy shop. And I'm ending, obviously, is fixing something, but it's kind of giving me an image of sewing of fabric, and they're not really matching. So, okay, a lollipop came up to my mind. So I'm just going to start doodling kind of a lollipop, and then we'll see how it goes about. Yeah. So we have, for example, this lollipop that is already wonky. Good. And here we go. And I'm gonna just relax and focus on the lollipop and see what comes out. We have 10 minutes, and 10 minutes are quite a lot if you think about it. So you don't need to be panicking. I need to come up with an idea immediately, or otherwise it's not good. No, take your time, because also sometimes rushing it too much is not going to give you anything. It's going to block you even more. So the timer is going to put a little bit of pressure, but not too much that it will actually freeze you in the moment. So remember, you have 10 minutes. Don't worry about it, and try to just start doodling and see what comes out of it. So I have this. Company can also mean that you have company, that you have someone with you. So maybe if we follow that train of thought, we have two chibi monsters. In my case, I'm going to keep on with the idea of my characters. We have two chibi monsters that are just keeping company to each other, and they're just, I don't know, eating lollipops. And one of them broke theirs, or it fell on the floor. So maybe I want to do a shattered one over here. So I'm gonna do like little, so I'm gonna first do a circle so I know where it's gonna end, and make like shattered pieces of a lollipop, like this, more or less. Again, I'm not going for perfection, I'm just going for understanding. So I need to understand what is going on the picture, but not because it's perfect, but because what I draw is actually, I understand it. It makes sense. You can glance what is going on. So the stick over here, I'm just gonna do like random lines because I don't want to focus and spend all the time on this, because it's not an important detail. I can see that it's a lollipop and that it got smashed, and I get it. So I can move on to the next part of the idea, which is a chibi monster crying because obviously it's sad. The lollipop broke. So we're gonna do a crying chibi monster. Kind of looks very bad, but you get the idea, right? And there we go. And this is gonna be a baby chibi monster. Maybe there's another one that is just handing the lollipop. So maybe I don't need to draw the whole thing. Maybe I can just draw like before a little hand. This, and do the dots. You can see that I'm jumping from one side of the drawing to another one. I'm not actually finishing one side and then going to the other one. That's because I'm trying not to focus my attention on one part so I don't trigger my creative anxiety. Because sometimes when we are creating, we get stuck because at some point, and this is completely normal, we just cannot figure out how to draw something or how to create something. So our brain kind of gives us that fear again that it's not good enough and kind of makes us stop. Because obviously our brain wants us to stop doing that is causing us fear. So the point is, don't stop. Just in this case, jump to another point of the drawing to ease that anxiety. You're not avoiding it because you have to finish the drawing itself, but you are easing that anxiety for a few minutes or for a few seconds, and then you jump again into it when you feel more confident. Because maybe when you see that the rest of the drawing or the rest of the sketch is more uniform and it makes more sense, it's gonna give you a sense of like you can do it. So again, you're not avoiding that anxiety, you're not avoiding what is causing you the anxiety, you're just calming yourself for a few seconds or for a few minutes, because again, you have 10 minutes, plenty of time, and then you revisit it. Because you don't need to pressure yourself here to do something perfect. So you can literally just step back for a second and keep going on later. And this G monster looks a bit diabolic, and the proportions are completely wrong. And I'm honestly hating it really a lot. Many things are wrong here, but we are gonna keep going on and see what happens. So I'm not gonna, for example, I'm gonna draw different dots on this one, orange rather than turquoise. So I distinguish two different characters, and I know that is this one that the lollipop fell, and is someone else. These two monsters company is giving them some lollipops. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. So kind of a distress thing there. This is really bad, but I'm just trying to keep with the idea. So the idea, I don't think is a bad idea itself. I just, because I started doodling one part, obviously then the perspective and how the elements are drawn in general don't really match. But again, I put my idea onto paper and I finished it. And that was the purpose of this exercise. So we are funneling our ideas through that box that we created with these two words, company and amending. So the company is not a literal company, it's like two team monsters in this case, keeping company to each other. And one of them is amending what happened to the other one, that is that the lollipop broke and it got sad and it started crying. So again, it doesn't need to be a logical train of thought, or a train of thought that would paint you a picture, a perfect picture, but it just needs to make enough sense for you to put it down onto paper. So you are seeing that you're making little mistakes that don't really matter, because this is not a perfect drawing, because it's not the aim of the exercise. So you can kind of not forget, but kind of, you're not relying on your skills to make something. You're just making something because you want to. And that doesn't lead you to being perfect. Okay, thumbs up. Here we go. And good. So I would say let's go for one last more. Here. And let's see what we have. We have upsetting. There we go, like my drawing now. And college. Upsetting and college. And time's up. 10 minutes from now. So, college and upsetting, these two words to me reminds me of exams and assignments. And because they're supposed to be upsetting, that means that I failed them. Not very nice, but it's what it came up to my mind. So let's see what we can do. Don't want to do another crying G monster, to be honest. I cannot think of anything else that is upsetting and that is related to college. So again, I'm going to start with that and we'll see how it goes. I want to kind of fill up this blank space. So maybe that or this one over here. So that maybe can give me a better understanding of what I can do. Upsetting and college. Okay, so for example, my train of thoughts right now is because I want to fill up this space and I have this here. Sometimes if you have, for example, uncompleted elements from previous boxes, let's say, use them. Finish them, but in another context. So for example, I'm just gonna erase a little bit there. And I'm gonna make a canvas. So we are saying we are in art school. So because these are sketches, it doesn't mean that you have to have a different space for each of them. They can intertwine, they can be with each other, they can interact with each other. As long as it comes up to you, just go for it. Do whatever you have in mind. So we have that easel with the canvas on it, like that. And then maybe I have, let's see, because I'm thinking of a G monster that is painting. So it's at college, at a fine art college, it's doing painting class, and something happened that accepted because the painting went wrong. But I don't know how the painting went wrong. So what I'm gonna do is kind of put that painting part aside, and I'm gonna start drawing down the G monster. And maybe while I'm drawing that part, something will pop up in my mind, and it will kind of finish the scenario, let's say, of the upsetting college. So let's see, we have this G monster sitting in a stool. Again, it doesn't need to be accurate. And I'm going to start with the tail. You also don't need to be making a perfect perspective or perfect drawing with clean lines. You can just do whatever it comes up as long as you understand it. Or maybe you are doing abstract drawing or abstract painting, even better. So just go for it. And we have G monster here. There, like that. I'm not gonna draw a face this time because I don't know. And maybe we're gonna have a bowl of fruit here because sometimes you have a bowl of fruit like for painting classes, like that. Something very simple. Again, it doesn't need to be super accurate. Don't even want to finish that stand, so I'm just gonna do it all black. And maybe something upsetting, it can be that rather than painting fruit, is painting a poop emoji, for example. Really random stuff, really. But obviously, it's upsetting, not for the chill monster, but because it's completely out of context, and maybe someone looking at it can get upset. So that's kind of like the relation that I'm doing between the words, this scenario, and my character. It's not something literal. There's no one upset here because we cannot see if someone actually got upset. But we made that relation, in that connection in our thoughts, and from that we created something. So there, and some flights around it, like that. And I'm gonna draw so see, now I'm erasing something because I realized that I don't actually have the space to show what the actual idea is. So we need probably the palette for the paint, like that. And maybe I can put a jar with brushes here at the bottom, so it gives more a sense of, oh, it's in a class, it's not random with an easel and a canvas, So I'm playing with the space that I have left, kind of filling up that space. So it's looking even dirtier and even more like messy, but it's not the point. So don't worry about it. Don't worry if it looks too messy. Don't worry if this line over jumps on the other line. Just focus on finishing, on getting something done rather than getting completely paralyzed from the fear of imperfection. Go. Just doing random brushes. This, or even random shapes, it doesn't really matter. You kind of get the idea that there is something with brushes over there. And to make my idea a bit better, I'm just painting and giving it a bit of color. So I understand that's obviously not fruit. And then I paint the ball of fruit too, so it makes even a bigger contrast with the main idea. Then bit of orange this side, and some green, like that. So we can see perfectly with just a few details that we made the fruit over there, and then the poop ball on this other side. And again, it's super dirty. So I'm actually even making it worse. So stop doing that. But it's not the point of keeping it clean. So if you see that your eraser was too dirty and you're scrubbing it too much, don't worry, keep going. Because again, it's not the point of finishing it. Of making it perfect, but of finishing it. And I'm just gonna make the dots because they give me a better understanding of what's going on. As I'm not making the two monster like very precise, they just look kind of like a weird blur or a weird blob. So we're just putting the dots around so I understand in the future what's actually going on. And I can say, okay, I get it's my two monster doing something a bit upsetting for someone else, and that is on a class, so it's probably college or school or, a learning institution or something. So it does the job the same. Okay, so we're going to check just to see. No, there's no time. You have 10 seconds left. So, but don't worry, because it's the last one. So I really hope you like this exercise, that it helped you a little bit. This is a training process. There we go. This is a training process, so don't worry if you go really anxious on this session, because you need to train it. You cannot just jump into the first session and be like, oh, no anxiety at all, thank you. No, it takes some practice, especially to push away or to the back of your head those negative thoughts that make you stop creating or completely kind of put yourself down because whatever you did is not perfectly clean, with a perfect perspective and a perfect composition. So don't worry about it, because no one is gonna see it. I'm not gonna ask you to show me, and if you don't want to, you don't need to show anyone else. So this is the session for today. The next session will be next Friday at 5 p.m. this time. I did have some problems with the setup. So next Friday we will try at 5 p.m. London time. And I hope to see you there. Bye.